All right, this is Alice. So one of the neat things that's coming out of all this is I'm spending time talking to relatives I don't normally get to do that with. So I just did Zoom for about 20 minutes with a nephew who lives in Bend, Oregon, and family. It was lovely. Totally lovely. So thank you, coronavirus.
You can see all sorts of people these days.
I know.
You don't have to travel very far. You shouldn't, in fact.
No guilt.
Yeah. We'll get started in about a minute. Anyone else have any highlights from Shabbat they want to share?
Well, I got to attend 2 Shabbat services, one with the AHN and one with synagogue out in California where my daughter was leading services.
Oh, wow. How often do you get to leading services, Andy?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that, Rabbi.
Oh, Andy, how often do you get to hear services being led from California with your daughter?
This is the first time. Thank you to the coronavirus. Otherwise, I'd have to travel out
Yeah.
and then take a 4-hour drive to get to her shul.
Wow. Paisley listening? I see that in the chat. It says that Paisley made bagels this morning.
Paisley, you need to share with everyone if you make bagels.
Normally, I would take her up on her bagels, just maybe not during a coronavirus outbreak, but otherwise. Well, I want to thank everyone for being here. Right now, I'm recording because I know that there are some people who, for some reason, technologically, they might not be able to make it here. I'm putting everyone on mute to the best that I can, and I know that some people might know exactly how to unmute themselves, but you're all on the honor system right now because my hands are on the keyboard. And I want to invite you all. I heard a lot of people saying that we were able to go places this Shabbat that you haven't been able to go normally. And I think it's really nice that you're able to join me in my own home here in Yardley, Pennsylvania. God willing, one day you'll be able to come to my actual home. But for meantime, I'm just happy to be here with everybody. Of course, one of the great things of all of this is that we can be anywhere that we want to be right now. And you can see my colleague, Rabbi Reish Weiss, who I don't know if she's going to be playing the saxophone at any point during this. I also don't know if she's going to be playing the vocals at any point during this, or she might just be playing the childcare at some point. You can see that behind me is the painting for Kehilat HaNahar, because you can go anywhere you want to with Zoom, which I'm very excited about. And I'll just share one other thing which is particularly nice about being able to do a Zoom Kabbalat Shabbat, which is simply that you can be with all sorts of people that we wouldn't get to see. We get to reconnect, make old connections new, and check in with people. The only other thing that I just want you to know is that I am a little bit nervous. I've never done this sort of thing before. I've never done a Zoom Kabbalat Shabbat that's musical. Plus, I'm nervous because this is actually my first time pretending I'm performing in Carnegie Hall. So that's particularly nerve-wracking. But for the meantime, I'll invite you back into my house because I think it's good sometimes just to see where we are in our own lives. And anyway, I'm going to share with you, I wish that I knew how to do a split screen. I wish I knew how to do a split screen so you could see me and also the words that I want to share with you from the music that we're going to be singing. But I'm going to be sharing with you. You can sing as loudly as you want, as long as the people who are your neighbors or living within your own domesticity are comfortable with your voice. But you should sing as loudly as you want to. There's no one else on the Zoom who's going to hear you. I'm going to share with you the beginning of what we're going to be doing tonight. Sorry, this is the incorrect file, so you could stop sharing that. I'm gonna find the correct thing. Sorry, this is all very new to me. I'm gonna share. We'll get started in a moment. We are ending one Shabbat and we're ending a week and we're entering a whole another week. And as we do this, I keep on finding the wrong file. I'm sorry, this will take me just one moment. And I think that I know what I'm looking for now. Sorry about this. But I hope that you're all entertaining yourselves if I'm not entertaining you whatsoever at this point.
Can you open up the page and then go to share screen?
I think that I've got this now. Let's see.
Okay.
Word. Havdalah. I think that I'm going to take my mother's suggestion. Oh, I just found it. Never mind. But we'll begin with music that you may have heard me share at KHN before. And of course, if you've never been to a service at KHN, or if you've never been to KHN before, welcome to KHN, sort of. And if you like tonight, I hope you'll come visit us at KHN sometime. And even if you don't, I hope that you'll try out the real KHN when all of this has ended. I am happy to be here. We are going to sing a few songs that you may have heard me sing before when I visited KHN before for Shabbat. And because we always end the Saturday nights in Jewish tradition, we pray before we enter Havdalah and really do that separation between Shabbat and the rest of the week. And there are some interpretive translation songs that I've written because the Hebrew doesn't always speak to me. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, so I translate it in my own way. So I'm going to share with you one translation that I've written for one of the main prayers of Arvit, the evening service. And when you think about the word evening, evening does not just mean that it's nighttime. Evening means it's a time when it's almost even how much light and how much dark there is. And we are in the Arvit service, and Arvit is about an eruv, a mixture that takes place between light and dark, because we are finding ourselves in this transitional moment when it's not quite night and it's not quite daytime either. Of course, it looks pretty dark outside by me, but Arvit, 6 days of the week, we would say, when it's just getting dark. And you can sing along with me if you'd like. From a well full of blessings, the spirit of the world, the heartbeat of time, lifts up a brush to paint the night. Fixing the sky with our words, opening gates with lessons learned, transforming moments and letting time pass, teaching us to know deeply, taking the stars out of hiding spots, setting them right where the earth stops and sky start, creating with love unceasing and breathing the day and the night. Rolling the light into darkness, rolling the darkness back into light, removing day and bringing back night, night after night. Placing the day on one side, placing the night right by its side, nature commandeering an art so endearing, and art called life. Standing, waiting, becoming our world again and again, each blessing, each evening. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. And we welcome in this evening. And I just heard the rain get a little louder where I am. I don't know if it's raining by you, but it's been a pretty rainy day. And in the nighttime, one of the things we always have to do is to listen in a way that we rarely would. When we listen, we're listening for a divine voice. We're listening for a divine voice that's going to connect us. And a few years ago, I had a friend who challenged me to write a song about the importance of loving ourselves. I can have a bit of a self-deprecating sense of humor or a self-deprecating sense about the way that I go about my own life at times. And that might be something that other people might be able to relate to. And I felt like as a Jewish person, according to good Jewish culture, I should be self-deprecating. But as I was thinking about this particular challenge, one night as I was singing the Shema and I was reading the Ve'ahavta passage that says Ve'ahavta b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha, that you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul, I realized that you could also read it as you shall love the Lord your God in all of your heart and in all of your soul and in all of your might, that maybe God is inside us, and that is what we have to love. So if we have to love something inside ourselves, we can't be fully self-deprecating, and then I lose. So I found that perhaps it was time for me to compose my own translation of what I was hearing in the Shema. And I'll share with you what I have heard in the Shema when I sing the Shema these days. So you can sing along if you've heard it before. If you haven't, you can guess how it sounds and sing along as you like. I will love myself with all my heart and all my soul and all my power. I will love the name of being and becoming a better judge each hour. May all these things I see and hear connect me to a place inside my heart. May these words and thoughts remain eternal. May they never part. Here, straight, crooked, noble, dusty angel, wrestling beneath the sun. Stern, compassionate, heavenly, earthly being, changing, all of you are one. I will love myself when I am home, when I am gone, and when I'm tired. Lying down or rising up, I find my hands with love inspired. Let my hand think of these things and emanate them from my brow. Let my home be sweet love. May my walls and doors all take this vow. Here, straight, crooked, noble, dusty angel, resting beneath the sun. Stern, compassionate, heavenly, earthly, being, changing, all of you are one. All of us are one. something that I should have mentioned, though you might have noticed it by now if you're a musician, which is that I have the chords up for these songs. So if you have a guitar, you can play along at home. If you have a flute, you can play along at home. If you have a saxophone, just raise it a step and a half. If you have a viola, make sure that the people who are near you are comfortable with the fact that you play a viola. And you can do anything that you want to do while I'm playing. You can even mute me if you wanted to. But I'm very excited that we can end Shabbat together with this particular Havdalah. I was taking a look at some of the evening liturgy that we say both on Friday nights and when it's just any other night of the week. And there's a passage, a long passage about Yetziat Mitzrayim, about leaving Egypt. In fact, the rabbis tell us that we have to imagine ourselves as if we are leaving Egypt every single day. And the rabbis even figure out a way to read into the Torah that we have to remember every single night that we left Egypt. And very soon, as you know, it's going to be Passover. And I like to remind myself at this time that with Passover, we have to imagine ourselves as leaving Egypt. When I think of Egypt, I don't think of necessarily a geographic region, and I don't think of the story in the Torah as a historical story, but I hear in it a metaphor about what it means to leave a place that is what Mitzrayim, which is the way we translate Egypt, what Mitzrayim really means. Mitzrayim means a place between two narrow places, and it's a place of stress. It's a place where we think that we can't escape. So what does it mean to leave Mitzrayim? And what does it mean to leave Mitzrayim not only yesterday, but to leave Mitzrayim today? And I looked at this passage that begins with the words Emet Kol Zot, that all of this is truth, and then it begins to tell the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, what it was like when the Jews left Egypt. And I wrote my own translation of this. I'm very happy to share it with you this evening. So I'm going to turn back to my share screen, and you can hear, you can sing along, and the words might be a little tiny. If they're a little tiny, you can write into the chat that you really despise this entire thing that we're doing. But for the meantime, we'll go plowing ahead. Leaving Egypt again. Is it all fate, the duck standing before us, leaving Egypt again? Is there a force there that bore us, leaving Egypt again? To leave behind despots when we don't know when. Since we left Egypt yesterday, we're leaving Egypt again. Because we don't need oppressors, leaving Egypt again. To remove us from our pressures, leaving Egypt again. To save our souls when we don't know when. Since we left Egypt yesterday, we're leaving Egypt again. If a miracle can save this tribe, we're leaving Egypt again. With a God we can't describe, leaving Egypt again. A true story we can barely recount when we don't know when. Since we left Egypt yesterday, we're leaving Egypt again. To keep us life that moves, leaving Egypt again. When others get caught in the grooves, we're leaving Egypt again. Making signs for a home of love when we don't know when. Since we left Egypt yesterday, we're leaving Egypt again. Because we can't live with hate, we're leaving Egypt again. Open freedom is our fate, leaving Egypt again. With the sea of reeds cut and dry when we don't know when. Since we left Egypt yesterday, we're leaving Egypt again. Letting fear sink into the deep, we're leaving Egypt again. Even if we wander like sheep, we're leaving Egypt again. If the heavens protect us when we don't know when. Since we left Egypt yesterday, we're leaving Egypt again. And we are just about approaching that moment when we're going to truly enter Havdalah, that moment when we separate the week that was and begin to embrace the week that will be. If you'd like to share in the chat, or I can even unmute people. How's that? You can unmute people. Let's see, it looks like we've got some sounds in certain backgrounds, so I might turn off certain sounds, and we're not going to mute people again, actually. This muting and unmuting business, it's very hard. The Jewish people like to talk. But if you have some hopes for the next week that you'd like to share, hear what you hear. Miriam, it looks like you got a hand up. Is that what's going on? No, just adjust.
I was just going to mute myself.
You were going to mute yourself. Well, I wanted to. Well, okay. If there's anyone who has a hope that they'd like to share for the next week, I'd invite you at this time to just blurt it out, because I'm not going to see it as fast as you can speak. I hope that the silence is not indicative of a lack of hope, but I hope that this next week will be a time when we'll hear some good news. I hope that we'll hear some reduced numbers in new cases. I hope that we don't have to hear of new cases next week. People who are getting sick from this virus that's spreading. That's one thing I'm hoping for. Rabbi
Hoping
Diana,
here for my kids.
sorry, who said that?
What? Me?
Was that Lisa?
Yeah.
Lisa, what did you say?
I just want to hear from my kids this week. I'm a school teacher. I'm missing my kids right now.
Missing your kids right now. Hoping to see them again soon.
See them, hear from them. Sometimes some of them I haven't heard from yet, and it just worries me.
I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that you can hear some good things from the families you haven't heard from yet. Hopefully they're being safe. Hopefully they're healthy. And
Yeah.
hope it'll be a good week for them.
I hope that people who are in the position to help, whether it's giving money to food banks, or, helping to do whatever we can to support doctors and nurses, that as many of us that can will.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get to hear some good news of people who are helping in big ways. There's a lot of help that needs to be had. I'll share one way to help. A friend of mine, if you want the information, I can send you the information after this. Just send me an email at khnschool@gmail.com. A friend of mine who's a doctor in Long Island is creating her own face shields. She's a doctor, and she has learned that a team at Johns Hopkins has figured out how to make face shields in a time when companies aren't selling them anymore. Hospitals don't know what to do because people treating people with coronavirus are getting the coronavirus because we don't have enough face shields. But we have ways of making our own. So if you'd like to donate to that cause, let me know if you'd like to be a part of that. I think we'll take one more hope if anyone has other hopes they'd like to share, and then we'll move on to Havdalah itself. We're going to hope for a week of good health. We're going to hope for a week where we find meaning in the ways that we help. We're going to pray for a week in which we hear some good, and where the bad news simply has no place. We always hope that Eliyahu Hanavi is going to come and spread some good news, and that Miriam Haneviah, that Miriam the prophet, is also going to sing some praises of joy. And the Fox family says we hope everyone is safe. Amen. I'm going to share with you something that I often like to sing with my family when we are preparing for Havdalah. It's a translation that my friend Rabbi Sarit Horowitz challenged me to write when she wanted an English translation of some verses that people traditionally sing before Havdalah's blessings begin with the words Hinei El Yeshuati, here is my God, my salvation. And I wrote this translation for kids, which is something I should probably do a little more often. Sometimes I just write for adults because I forget that I used to be a kid. And I actually remember, though, that I do have kids and I teach kids. All sorts of things like that should remind me every once in a while. But I'm going to share my screen and we'll sing together. If you've never heard this, you can get used to the melody. We'll sing Yai, nai, 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 nai. Yai, na, nai, 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 nai. Yai, nai, 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 nai. Ya, na, nai, 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 na, nai, nai. Yai, nai, nai, nai. Yai, na, nai, 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 na, nai, nai, nai. Yai, 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 yai. Yanai. Here is God, my hope and shield, guarding God's world. God's word is revealed. I dream of my people and they're dreaming too, as all of our senses welcome the new. As three stars say good night, may a new week be guided by light. See you Shabbat, we'll meet again soon. I'll bring my candle and you'll bring your tune. Yanai, nai, 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 nai. Yanai, nai, 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 nai. Yai, 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 nai, nai. Yanai, nai, 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 nai. Yai, 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 nai, nai. Ya na 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 na. Ya na nai 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 nai. Ya na nai nai nai. Yai 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 yai. Now, if you'd like to participate in the next part, and you want to smell the things that are in my house, you're gonna have to wait however long this coronavirus thing lasts. But I've got here some spices, and they smell authentic to me. And I hope that you'll have some too. And if you want a little candle, I've got here a plated braided candle. I'm gonna light this, but I'm gonna be careful as I can. I might not play the piano while I'm doing this because I don't have insurance on the piano. But I'm gonna do what I can. And if you want some grape juice, you can get yourself a fancy cup of grape juice like I have. This is the Kedem Original. And you can get yourself a little glass of grape juice or wine, whatever is most comfortable for you. And I'll begin with the traditional Hebrew words before we sing the traditional introduction to Havdalah, and then we'll get into the blessings. And I just want to say that I'm doing this while recognizing that Havdalah is a ceremony that was probably invented for octopuses because you have to be able to hold a book, a candle, a grape juice, a lighter, and a spice box all at the same time, while also potentially holding children. Adonai haishwalam chavir chatecha sela. Adonai tzlot imanu miskav lanu lekov sela. Adonai tzlot asher yadam boteach bach. אדוני הושיע מלכנו ויום קראנו. ליהודים הייתה אורה ושמחה וששון בקרקעי תהיה לנו. כוס ישועות אשא ולשם אדוני אקרא. Nay nay na 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 nay 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 na 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 nay 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 na 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 nay 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 yay nay na 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 nay 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 na 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 nay 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 na 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 nay 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 yay nay nay Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam More peri hagafen, more peri hagafen, yanai nai nai, dai da 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 dai 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 da 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 dai 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 da 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 dai 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 dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, more Mine vesamim, ore mine vesamim. Dai dai da 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 dai 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 da 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 dai 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 da 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 dai 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 da 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 dai. Dai dai da 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 dai 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 da 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 dai dai dai. Ya da 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 dai 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 dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei meorei ha'esh, borei meorei ha'esh, yanai nai nai, yai nai na 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 nai 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 na 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 nai 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 na 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 nai nai nai, yai nai nai, yam bai da 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 dai 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 da 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 dai 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 da 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 dai dai dai, yam bai bai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei ben kodesh lechol ben or lechosher Ben Yisrael amim ben yom hashvi'i v'sheshet yemei ha'maaseh Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh lechol yanai nai nai yanai nai 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 Shavuot tov, 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 Shavuot tov. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishmi, Eliyahu Hakilati, Bimhera ve'yameinu, Yavo eleinu, Im Mashiach ben David, Im Mashiach ben David, Miriam Hanevia, Azezim Rabeata, Miriam tirkod itanu, lehagdil zimrat olam. Miriam tirkod itanu, letaken et haolam. Bimhera ve'yameinu, itevinu el mehashua. Hamavdil ben kodesh lecho, chatoteinu imcho. Zarenu v'chaspeinu yarbe yarbe kachol, v'chakochavim b'layla. Zarenu v'chaspeinu yarbe yarbe kachol, v'chakochavim b'layla. Shavuot tov, 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 Shavuot tov. And I want to thank everybody for coming and celebrating the end of a week and welcoming a new week, putting a cap on the old week. And thank you so much for joining me in a cautionary tale of what happens when you don't practice the chords to the end of Havdalah. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming and joining and celebrating with us. And we hope to sing together again soon.
Thank you, Rabbi Jonah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Jonah. Shavua Tov.
Shavua
Shavua
tov.
tov.
Shavua tov.
Shavua tov.
Everybody. Shavua tov.
Shavua tov. I got all those grape juice to drink, so you can watch me if you want.
L'chaim. Good night,
The
everybody.
whole thing. Shavua tov, everybody.
So nice to be able to visit you from far away.
Carla, it was wonderful seeing you. Thank you for coming, Carla.
First time I've gotten to hear you play.
Alice, thank you for joining us. Fox family, thank you for joining us. Susan, Lisa, all the Levinsons are here. I can't believe it. And actually, we got 3 out of 5. But that's more than half. Oh, you got a flute. Excellent. Josh, I'm just noticing this now. I hope that you had a good time. And we've got, let's see, Alice and Stacy and Scott and Rabbi Diana. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming tonight. Shavua tov, everybody.
Thank you.
Shavua tov.
Shavua tov.
Shavua tov.